Says you taught at Barrett Academy. Is that a good school? What do you teach?
What's your name?
Chuck. Chuck Norstad.
Mel Gibson plays a teacher whose scars have made him an outcast until he wins the trust of an eager young student in The Man Without a Face. It's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, including Jean-Claude Van Damme's new thriller and a new comedy starring Deborah Winger and Dennis Quaid. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is The Man Without a Face, Mel Gibson's second attempt following his Hamlet of 2 years ago to reclaim his position as a serious dramatic actor and not be regarded as just a hunk. It's a decent film, but just not very original. Gibson plays a burn victim helping tutor a kid who bears his own scars on the inside. The boy comes from a troubled home and wants to escape it all by entering a military academy. He needs a tutor to help him with the entrance exam and finds one in Gibson, who has become a recluse after being burned in a car crash. The film is set in 1968.
It was the school where my father went. He was in Korea and then he died in a jet crash. Some kind of experimental spy plane. If it's a matter of money, I can pay you.
No, I don't think you can.
That's Nick Stahl as the boy. And of course, Gibson does relent and agree to tutor the kid. There are a lot of courses in this movie, as when Gibson has to get tough with the undisciplined kid.
Do you want help or not?
Yeah, I guess so, if you're really a teacher.
Yeah, I guess so, sir.
Yes, I guess so, sir.
Good.
And of course, there's a discussion of Gibson's scarred face.
He was in a car crash.
I'm sorry.
So am I. No, not just for this, but there was a boy killed in that car crash, and he burned to death.
It turns out there's more to Gibson's story than that, and that provides another, of course, as the boy is required to be strong for Mel Gibson's character, as The Man Without a Face combines familiar elements from movies like Mask and Dead Poets Society and Son of a Woman, all films I like better than this one. After a shaky start to the picture, Gibson does direct the film in a satisfactory manner. I guess my big objection to the film is it didn't feel fresh in any way. He's a victim, the kid's a victim, together they'll triumph. I thought Son of a Woman, similar script, was a new take on a familiar subject. This one is not.
You know, Gene, I thought it was a good deal more original than you give it credit for, because it doesn't simply deal with this obviously familiar material in a predictable way. The thing that I really liked about the film is that the people in it are so intelligent. They think smart, they talk smart, they don't do obviously dumb things as they would in a different kind of film, and in particular the kid, the young Stahl boy, is a very good actor, a very natural actor in terms of standing up to this unfamiliar man and dealing with it.
Well, I guess where I didn't find any surprise in the story. There was only one speech that I liked where he challenges the kid to think for himself and come to his own conclusions.
Well, that was a big surprise. That was a big surprise, because you can tell me, as easily as I can tell you, how that scene would have been handled in a lesser film. And there would have been some kind, there even probably would have been some dumb courtroom scene at the end of this film if it had been handled in a dumber way.
I guess that
and here, I think it's really great that Gibson, as a director and as his character, says, you've got to figure this out for yourself.
That's the one interesting element in the film. The rest of it, Roger, is really formulated. And all those pictures that I named, particularly Son of a Woman, it's the same story as Son of a Woman. Even you would admit that's handled a lot better.
If you think Son of a Woman and Dead Poets Society are not formula pictures, I've got news for you.
They had many more fresh scenes other than this one that I just named.
Okay, next movie. Our next film is a strange comic fantasy named Wilder Napalm, about 2 brothers who were born with what I guess you could call telepyrokinesis, the ability in that word, which I just made up, to start a fire at a distance using only the power of your mind. They determined to keep their gift a secret, but now in their 30s, one of the brothers, played by Dennis Quaid, decides to cash in on TV talk shows. The other brother, played by Arliss Howard, is a fireman who thinks that's a bad idea. He's married to Deborah Winger, who is under house arrest as an arsonist. Everybody in this family likes fires. In this scene, the 3 of them sit around the kitchen with a golden oldie quartet from down at the fire station. fireworks break out when Quaid takes his brother's wife miniature golfing and cannot contain his passion or his gift for starting fires.
Where'd you get this move, Wallace? A Nelson Eddy movie?
Wilder Napalm is a deliberately odd misfit of a movie about strange people living in a strange world. I don't think anything that happens in this film is supposed to be accepted on a realistic level. Winger's husband, for example, works in a photo booth in a bankrupt shopping center, which means he doesn't do much business, and everyone in the movie is frankly insane in one way or another, but unfortunately, none of those ways is very funny. I enjoyed the energy of the performances. I liked Deborah Winger's sensuousness as a woman who loves her husband and indeed loves her husband's brother too. And I liked the movie's strange way of looking at the world these characters inhabit, but I'm afraid the whole thing is basically just an exercise in style.
Absolutely, and it even gets worse than that because ultimately becomes an exercise in physical stunt effects of explosions. I mean, the brother, Dennis Quaid, works as a clown in a circus that comes to town. Okay, so now you have the circus in the shopping center.
Yeah.
Well, at about halfway through this picture, I started a countdown on when the big Ferris wheel was going to be set on fire. And the reason why is because I knew when that occurred, the movie would be over, and so be it. I mean, it's too bad because Deborah Winger, I still think, is one of the most interesting, exciting, and risk-taking actresses we have around. But this story, she's overwhelmed by fire stunts, and I think it's just one note.
Does it occur to you that maybe there has been a markdown recently in Hollywood in the cost of blowing things up real big? Because in so many movies this summer, there have been explosions and fires as a substitute for anything else happening.
And which they always show from 3 camera angles.
So that it blows up
3 times.
First it blows up, and then it blows up over here, and then it blows up this way. And then you have the key shot of the guy running toward the camera and jumping just as the explosion happens behind him.
And then a lot of balsa wood trickling down at the end. So those scenes last a long time.
Lots of wood, yeah.
Coming up next, a young boy is on his own in the Great Depression in King of the Hill.
How are you? I'm fine. What did you have for lunch today? I had filet of...
My grades were just as good, but everyone knew they were going to give the award to the teacher's pet. And then all the girls feel sorry for him because he's a charity case. What a phony. And did you see that outfit? I haven't seen clothes that funny since the circus was here.
A boy experiences the agonies and ecstasies of growing up during the Depression in King of the Hill, a wonderful, original, highly engaging new film from Steven Soderbergh, the talented young director who made such a splash with his debut film a couple of years ago called Sex, Lies, and Videotape. King of the Hill is based on writer A.E. Hotchner's reminiscence of growing up in St. Louis in 1933 in a family under great stress. The mom is sick and has to go to a sanitarium. The dad is seriously in debt as a door-to-door candle salesman. And now the little boy's brother must be sent away.
Uncle Nathan sent a letter saying he'd keep him until we can get back on our feet again. That way we save at least $1 a week.
Soon the plucky young hero of the film, 12-year-old Aaron Kurlander, will be all alone as his dad leaves him for a job as a traveling salesman.
Listen to me, Aaron. You're going to be okay.
Little Aaron, marvelously played by Jesse Bradford, now occupies his family's hotel room by himself. And across the hall, he's introduced to the adult world in the form of a courtly drunk, Spalding Gray, and his frequent companion, a hooker played by Elizabeth McGovern.
Lydia works for the hotel. Don't you, Lydia?
What is it that you do?
Oh, she's in the customer service department.
With people his own age, his schoolmates, Aaron invents a fantasy world that includes glamorous imaginary occupations for his desperate parents.
My parents are archaeologists, and they were on an expedition, and nobody's heard from them in a while, so I guess they're missing.
This is a terrific film. Every scene in the film looks and feels fresh. I think the key to its success is that director Soderbergh and A.E. Hotchner's book do not treat this little boy as a kid. The pressures in his life are varied, and he copes in such inventive ways. In addition to this personal individual story, King of the Hill, I think, also gives us a great panorama of the Depression, of people trying to cope with very real issues in a way that make so many of today's problems seem small. I think this is simply one of the year's best films.
Oh, I do too, Gene. I was really surprised at how much I liked this film and how textured it was.
Yes.
And for Soderbergh, it's an interesting film because it's nothing at all like Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And of course, it's nothing at all like his second film, Kafka, which I felt was a complete
well, this guy
disappointment.
Yeah, but I didn't think. But this guy is taking big chances in different areas.
Yes, he is. And each one of these films goes in a different direction.
Yes.
And here, with this strong performance and all of the people around it, this entire gallery of supporting characters,
really
you
wonderful.
get a sense of people really striving to try to survive during a period of great economic hardship. And it's not all just a Norman Rockwell world where people are nice to the little kid. A lot of the people lie to him and cheat him and try to fool him, and it's not a fair world, but he fights and he survives.
In this picture, my God, the things that are thrown at this kid are just, it's magnificent, the variety of scenes. This individual scenes in lesser hands would be made into whole movies, individual issues.
Well, this is a good film, and on the basis of everything, Soderbergh really establishes himself as a major director.
I think so, Roger.
When we come back, Jean-Claude Van Damme in Hard Target, his new thriller. Jean-Claude Van Damme is a quarry for dangerous hunters in Hard Target, the first American thriller directed by the Hong Kong master of action, John Woo. The movie is an updating of the classic story, The Most Dangerous Game, about men who pay to hunt other men as if they were wild animals. In the film, Yancey Butler plays a young woman whose father is missing, and we know he's been tracked down and killed by the perverted millionaire hunters in the film, but she doesn't and wants to hire Van Damme to help her look for him. He's a Cajun from the bayou who's out of work.
I'll help you for 2 days. You'll pay me $217.
Soon Van Damme is hunting the hunters in a series of spectacular stunt sequences like this one. Of course, it's an unwritten rule in these movies that the bad guys are always incredibly bad shots. I think you kind of have to adopt a generic approach to a film like this. Hard Target is not very smart and it's not very original, but it is well made on a technical level. The stunts are impressive, and Van Damme makes a convincing action hero, and there are a couple of suave, evil villains played by Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo who are very effective. As an action picture, it's well made, but it never becomes anything more than competent action, and I just can't recommend it for that reason.
I couldn't either, Roger.
No.
I mean, John Woo is a good filmmaker, and every shot here is an attempt to be very fresh. I think that, frankly, Van Damme is pretty wooden in the film, and I thought I was seeing, in many cases, something like one of these beer commercials, you know, with the great-looking people at the bar and the great stylistic stuff out on the highway and all that, and nobody,
that would be Woo's fault. I don't know. He does like gimmicks. For example, when somebody's about to be shot, he shows them and then he freezes them.
Yeah.
Then there's a closer shot and he freezes that, and then a closer shot and he freezes that. And these are TV commercial techniques that sometimes work and sometimes don't.
You notice the style. I think the reason is that you notice the style because there's really nothing of substance in the
also
picture.
In this movie, lots more scenes where things get blown up real big.
You got that. When we come back, a mysterious illness baffles doctors across the globe, and the band played on is next.
Look, one of my jobs is to make sure that I don't start a nationwide panic, all right? Is that worse than an...
Made for television from HBO Pictures, which, with this film and Citizen Cone and Barbarians of the Gate and that film about the Texas cheerleading mom with Holly Hunter, is quickly establishing itself now as an important source of reality-based movie making that is anything but a stepchild of the big studios. And The Band Played On is the AIDS story of how the disease became a plague and how the gay and straight worlds at first reacted with ignorance and indifference, and how the medical and scientific communities competed in bold and petty ways to eradicate it. Using a historical approach, the film takes us back to 1981 as early data is coming into the nation's centers for disease control in Atlanta.
In 7 months, the number of cases jumped from 5 to 152 in 15 states.
7 months?
Yeah, but the spooky part is that so far the mortality rate has been 40%.
40%?
And according to the doctors taking care of these patients, the mortality rate could ultimately turn out to be 100%.
This film has a star-studded cast as a public health official, played by Lily Tomlin, investigates San Francisco bathhouses.
So how many men come here a night?
Hundreds. Every night of the week. Some bathhouses more than 1,000.
The main hero of the film is a gutsy disease control doctor played by the fine actor Matthew Modine, who confronts officials from the blood industry who were reluctant to pay for a test that would screen donated blood to see if it contains the AIDS virus.
How many people have to die to make it cost efficient for you people to do something about it? 100? 1,000? Give us a number so we won't annoy you again until the amount of money you begin spending on lawsuits makes it more profitable for you to save people than to kill them.
And one of the villains of the piece is a vain American doctor from the National Cancer Institute, played by Alan Alda, who is competing with French doctors to isolate the AIDS virus. But he wants solo credit.
10 times 10 times 10. My name is in every book ever written on the human retrovirus. Why would you get in bed with the French instead of me?
Is you against the French? I thought we were all against the virus.
Both Alan Alda and Matthew Modine are just great in each of those scenes, and many others in And the Band Played On, based on Randy Schultz's best-selling book. It's filled with that kind of urgency that only true stories contain. The film does run on and does sometimes scramble to pack in a lot of similar material, but what I love about And the Band Played On from HBO is that it respects our intelligence and ability to stay with this complicated story. And the Band Played On will begin playing on HBO for about 2 weeks, starting in September 11th.
I agree with what you say, and you know, there's another thing that I was amazed by as I was watching this film, and that is the fearless way in which it actually names names. And there are two names in particular that it names over and over again. One is Robert Gallo, the AIDS investigator, who is shown, as the Alda character plays him, to be an extremely vain and
selfish,
possibly unethical investigator. And the other person is Ronald Reagan, who never mentioned the word AIDS or ever gave a speech about the disease until hundreds and hundreds of people were already dead. It's as if he didn't want to know about it, and indeed the movie seems to imply that the government felt, well, if this is the kind of disease that's only going to strike homosexual people and drug users and Haitians, we don't care about it. As it said in the movie, if this struck ordinary middle-class Reagan supporters, maybe they would have gotten more money to the disease a little sooner.
There's very clear that those are the villains in the piece. I think that this business I was talking about getting detailed, don't you know it's true that Hollywood would take, normal Hollywood would take this story and say, you know, it's too technical, people won't get that. And it's that technical data that makes us realize that a doctor like Modine's character in the film is a real hero, and that the action that he's engaging in can be just as dramatic on film as a gun blast.
That's right. And you know, it's really chilling as you look at this film to realize there was a time when very few people had AIDS. In fact, they single out one airline steward who apparently was the key source for the infection of many of the earliest cases of AIDS on both coasts of the United States. And that if money and attention had been poured in at that moment instead of years later after it was already way out of hand, hundreds of thousands of lives might have been saved.
When we come back, our next video pick of the week, an anniversary collection starring the unforgettable Mae West.
Perhaps I could do something for you sometime.
Now it's time for our video pick of the week, and my pick this week is made in honor of the wonderful Miss Mae West, who would have been 100 years old on August 17th. In fact, some people think she might have been 104. In honor of her centenary, 8 of her classic films are being re-released on tape, and 4 of them in a boxed set of Laserdiscs called the Ultimate Mae West Collection. Here she is in I'm No Angel with Cary Grant. This is often considered her best film. She had a voice, a presence, and a delivery that suggested almost everything was a joke, and that she was in on it, even if you weren't.
You were wonderful tonight.
I'm always wonderful at night.
Yes, but tonight you were especially good.
Well, when I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better.
I'm not a sex symbol, I'm a sex personality, she once said, and you can see that here. It wasn't so much that she was irresistible as that she had a lot of fun acting as if she were. Mae West took a subject that in her time was surrounded by hypocrisy, silence, and shame, and just by saying out loud what a lot of people were already thinking, she carried out a one-woman social revolution. And now let's take another look at the films we reviewed this week. We had a split decision on The Man Without a Face, Mel Gibson's directing debut. I felt it was a smart and moving film, but Gene thought it was a formula picture. 2 thumbs down for Wilder Napalm, the odd romantic comedy with a good performance by Deborah Winger, but too many fireworks. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up for King of the Hill, Steven Soderbergh's wonderful film with its great performance by Jesse Bradford as a youngster trying to survive the Great Depression. 2 thumbs down for Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme up against professional manhunters. The movie is technically good, but empty. Finally, 2 thumbs up for And the Band Played On with its outspoken criticism of the early handling of the AIDS epidemic. It's going to play on HBO starting September the 11th. So King of the Hill is the one that we're both really high on this week.
Very high on, and it's great to see HBO come alive and make a contribution as a major player now in Hollywood. That's it for this week. Next week, a special show, Robert Redford, classic star, maverick director. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub. St. Ives Swiss Formula polishes your complexion beautifully, naturally. St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub. Klondike Almond Ice Cream Bars. Great Klondike taste with delicious roasted almonds. What would you do for a Klondike? Introducing new light walkers from Easy Spirit. Soft, flexible leather combined with real arch support, plus all the cushioning of an athletic shoe. No ordinary shoe performs quite like them from Easy Spirit. Fashion Bug for the latest in junior, Mrs. Plus, even girls and men's fashions. 1,200 stores coast to coast. Fashion Bug fits your life.